The path of destruction after a car smashes through multiple backyards in Brampton.
We're terrified to go in our backyard and play now because
anything could happen.
Video of the collision course shows how lucky it was no one was in the backyards. We'll get you an update on the charges the driver now faces.
This was a car breaking through a full closure of the highway. Certainly no excuse for that.
And the hunt continues tonight for the driver of a black Corvette. Police say they hit a 24-year-old Markham construction worker before speeding off.
We're aware of at least 30 properties.
And a spiraling mortgage fraud investigation will explain how the accused allegedly exploited her victim's poor English language skills. Hey, good evening. I'm Chris Glover. We're beginning tonight in Brampton with some wild video of an SUV plowing through multiple backyards in a residential neighborhood. It happened yesterday evening, but thankfully no one was in their backyards when the vehicle came barreling through. Tonight, the driver is charged with impaired operation of a vehicle, and one of the homeowners shared video of the ordeal with CBC Toronto. Anam Khan has our top story tonight.
This Brampton neighborhood is often busy like this in the evening, with lots of people returning home from work and two schools just nearby. But yesterday, it was the scene of instant destruction. Around 6:30 on Monday, video captured the moment this SUV tore through these three backyards. No one was injured, but people who lived there were shaken.
I was surprised. I didn't think this was real.
14-year-old Arson Kashif was home when it happened. He heard the noise and panicked, running straight to his neighbor's house. She just returned home from dropping her kids off at night school and was shaken herself.
I'm shaking that time because I don't know what happened. Sometimes I thought like it's an earthquake.
It was her backyard security camera that captured the incident. The driver now has been charged with impaired driving.
I've never seen something like this when it comes to impaired operation. I'm not saying it doesn't happen in Peel, but I would say that this was a rare incident that we saw.
Residents of the three homes affected say they expect the damage to be around $50,000 in total. That includes the cost to repair the damaged fences that were just put up last year. So the car came right off the road and went through this first backyard, which we're standing over here, and you can literally walk through each of the three backyards. There's some caution tape right over here, some temporary fencing over here, and the car came to a halt right at the third backyard. And the people here in this neighborhood, in this community, just don't feel safe.
we're terrified to go in our backyard and play now because
anything could happen.
Yeah.
Oh, too safe, but I guess it's kind of like a regular in Brampton now.
Arham's mom, Taslim, was also home when it happened. She says this is the second incident at her house. Last year, she says two people broke in and stole her gold jewelry.
Because after the robbery, the fences were finished, but we didn't know that this will happen. Again, terrible.
Residents say the city fences blocking off the road are not enough. They want the city to install concrete walls to protect them from cars and robberies in the future. Anam Khan, CBC News, Toronto.
And check out this video of a botched arson attempt at a comedy club in Richmond Hill. York police say it happened in the early morning hours last month at the business on York Boulevard near East Beaver Creek Road. They say the suspect smashed open the front doors of the club and then poured an accelerant on the bar and several tables before igniting it. Fortunately, the fire didn't spread, but it did cause some damage. Police say the suspect was scared off by a delivery truck. No arrests have been made. Now, last week, we showed you dramatic video of another arson that happened in the same area. No arrests have been made in that case either. The family of a 38-year-old Alliston woman who was killed 1 year ago is appealing to the public for answers as police continue to search for those responsible for her death.
Etrafında sevilen sayılan bir insandı. Karıncayı bile incitmezdi. Ablamı bizden aldılar. Ablama bunu yapanları bulun. Onu bizden alanların cezası kalmasına izin vermeyin.
Today, the OPP announced a $50,000 reward for information leading to an arrest and conviction in the murder of Zubel Duzgunner. She was leaving for work on the morning of August 26th last year when a vehicle drove up to her home and a suspect shot her while she was sitting in her car. The suspect vehicle is described as a gray 2011-2012 Volkswagen Jetta, last seen in the area of Kidd Crescent in Alliston, and police believe the shooting was targeted. Des Gunner's family describes her as a loving mother of 3 with a strong connection to the local Turkish and Muslim communities. Police in Toronto continue to hunt for the driver of a black Corvette. Investigators say the driver broke through a construction site early this morning, struck a young worker, and then drove off. A 24-year-old Markham man has been left with life-altering injuries. Alliston has more on what we know.
3:30 this morning, Toronto PP received a call, serious collision involving a construction worker.
At that time, the 401 would have been quiet, but for the construction happening in the eastbound lanes at Victoria Park.
There was a full closure in place. Construction crews were out doing lane realignments and new line painting.
That's when the Ontario Provincial Police say someone driving a black Corvette blew through the lane closure at Leslie Street, barreling 3.5 kilometers towards the work up ahead.
Through the closed portion of the highway, striking that construction worker that was out working near Victoria Park. He suffered serious life-altering injuries. He's a 24-year-old man from Markham.
Police are on the hunt for the driver who allegedly sped off.
The vehicle that hit him is described as a black Corvette. It was last seen possibly on Warden Avenue, still traveling at a high rate of speed.
Doing construction along a highway can be precarious, but as OPP Sergeant Carrie Schmidt points out, at 3:30 in the morning, this should not have happened.
You know, we talk about people slowing down and moving over. This was a car breaking through a full closure of the highway. Certainly no excuse for that at all. The way they set up those cones with blocker trucks.
Police say it's only a matter of time before the driver is arrested. They are working with MTO highway camera footage to track down the car, which is said to have extensive damage to the front of it. But they say they need the public's help.
We're asking for that driver or anyone with information. If you've seen a vehicle with front end damage, or you know the circumstances here, or you were in the area and you saw this vehicle come through the closure, please call the Toronto PP.
Alliston, CBC News, Toronto.
Now to an effort in Mississauga that the city says is meant to make the roads safer is needing some protection itself tonight. City staff say speed cameras are being vandalized at an increasing rate. As Greg Ross reports, some think it shows the program needs a rethink.
Mississauga has been using speed cameras primarily in school zones as a way to curb speeding in those areas. But it seems not everyone is in favor of them.
They're spray painting the lens so that it can actually photograph cars going by that are speeding.
Correct. And you'll also have people pounding on this. I think recently somebody was pounding on it with a brick or something to this effect.
City Councillor Stephen Dasko says vandalism to speed cameras around the city has become a regular occurrence. This box that has been set up in front of Port Credit Secondary School has been one of the hardest hit.
If we give it a push, that's going to take some effort to knock over.
But that's exactly what 2 people did on Friday night. This security video shows them running away immediately after flipping it over.
When they're toppled over, they're not functional, they're not doing their job. Quite often it's in the cloak of darkness, so a lot of times we'll wake up to getting these reports.
This is happening to other speed cameras in the city as well, and it's becoming a regular occurrence.
In 2022, the city of Mississauga received 161 reports of vandalism at speed cameras around the city. They've already surpassed that this year with 172 reports of vandalism and counting.
Councillor Dasko says it might be time to rethink the program.
What makes sense is if we could have them relocated to being on a pole or somewhere that's, quite frankly, outside of somebody easily being able to get their hands on them.
Dasko says the city has a contract with an external company to supply and maintain the cameras. The hope is that the city can work with that company to find a solution. Greg Ross, CBC News, Mississauga.
16 degrees and pretty clear tonight as we look live at the city skyline, heading to a chilly low of 11 tonight. Colette is here, and Colette, kind of a gloomy Tuesday, but a couple of sunny breaks there later in the day.
Yeah, that's right. With, the more organized and heavier rain essentially out of the GTA, through the morning hours and then gone into the afternoon and just more isolated stuff, it allowed for a few areas to get those sunny breaks, which popped the temperature up pretty quickly to 23, and then the clouds, because of the instability, really kind of filled back in again. But one of the milder spots, St. Catharines at 23 as well, and Chatham, Kent, and Windsor close there at 22, and a few others on the board like Kingston. Overnight tonight, we get into around the Golden Horseshoe, partly cloudy skies, pretty much for southwestern Ontario, but a little more stubborn to get the system out of the province to the east. And so the setup for tomorrow is that most areas will have sun early and then some clouds mixing in the afternoon. But the but is that a few isolated showers are possible, primarily into cottage country or into eastern Ontario. Slim chance there into the Windsor area. I would expect that you'll stay dry. Overnight tonight, 11 degrees. There is some cooler air in behind this system, so we'll have some cooler overnights and days too. Tomorrow afternoon, a high of 19.
That sounds good. Thanks, Colette. A big day in a Windsor courtroom today as the trial continued for a man accused of killing a Muslim family out for a walk one night in 2021. New video, witness testimony, and a critical 911 call were all part of today's proceedings. Chris Ensing is following the trial for us.
Surveillance cameras captured scenes that are not in dispute. The prosecution and the defense agree. On June 6, 2021, Nathaniel Veltman drove his black pickup truck down Hyde Park Road, spotting the Ufsall family on the sidewalk. He makes a U-turn and drives towards them. The jury shown video of the truck heading toward the family and jumping the curb. Data collected from the vehicle shows the truck steered right toward the family. 5 seconds before hitting them, that the gas pedal was completely pressed down and the brake pedal was never touched. 4 members of the Ufsall family died. A young boy survived. Veltman, charged with 4 counts of first-degree murder and 1 count of attempted murder, left the scene driving toward a mall parking lot. In a video shown to the jury, a black pickup truck with a crumpled hood pulls into the parking lot and stops beside a cab. The cab driver, Azidin Jangiri, testified in court that the man inside the truck, wearing a military-style helmet and a bulletproof vest, told him to call 911. Jahangiri said the driver told him, "I just hit someone. Call the cops," and said, quote, "I killed someone." Jahangiri, who testified he saw blood on the front of the truck, said he nervously dialed 911 and put the call on speaker. That call was played in court.
Yes. What's the plate on it?
The plate is...
It's me. It was me.
It was me.
It was me that did it.
Come arrest me.
Okay, what's the plate on the truck? Can you ask him his name?
I don't know, but it was me that crashed into them. Get over in the...
Okay, what's your name?
Nate Veltman.
Sorry, what's your name?
Nate Veltman.
Are you injured?
Nope, I did it on purpose.
The cab driver gave the license plate number of the truck and waved to police passing by on the street. Veltman, on his knees, surrendering to police. The cab driver testified that he did not hear the police say anything during the arrest, only that the accused told him to videotape that arrest, which he didn't do. Jahangiri also testified the accused was smiling and calm and appeared to be almost laughing. Veltman has pleaded not guilty to all counts. Chris Ensing, CBC News, Windsor, Ontario.
Back in Toronto, the mayor met with the federal immigration minister demanding more money to address the ongoing refugee crisis. Olivia Chow says she told the minister the situation here in Toronto is desperate and more federal money is urgently needed. But the federal government continues to deflect that request back to the province. City Hall reporter Sean Jeffords has more.
While Toronto shelters remain full and local churches are still sheltering refugees, Mayor Olivia Chow says support from the federal government is needed as the costs continue to grow for the city and those faith groups.
We don't want to leave anyone behind. We don't want people sleeping on the street, and the situation is very desperate.
Earlier this summer, the city and federal government were locked in a public fight over funding to shelter refugee claimants. Hundreds of people were forced to sleep on the street when they were turned away from the full shelter system. The federal government agreed to provide $97 million to help address the problem, short of the $167 million Chow requested. Today, Miller emerged from an hour-long meeting at City Hall saying he was there to listen.
Well, I didn't walk in there with the check. I walked in there to look at how Canada's largest city can have can welcome in a humane fashion a bunch of people that in some cases are risking their lives to be here.
The minister says Premier Doug Ford's government also has a role to play. It could fund a refugee welcome program to help new arrivals find shelter and supports.
They're sitting on a lot of money. They're sitting on billions of dollars. That is that is just a fact.
Deputy Mayor Jennifer McKelvey says the federal government could do more to coordinate with cities receiving refugees.
Well, it's extremely frustrating that we have ended up in this situation. Refugees are a federal responsibility. They need to proactively be having conversations with communities about what the numbers are that they're expecting this year, next year, the year forward.
Councillor Alejandra Bravo came to Canada as a refugee herself. A welcome center helped her family find shelter and her parents quickly find jobs.
But I think that the people of the city, the people of this province and this country are of one mind. Figure it out, and municipalities need the resources to meet the crisis and to give the supports that people need.
While the mayor didn't receive a cash commitment from the federal government today, she stressed it's important that comes ahead of winter. Sean Jeffords, CBC News, Toronto.
Welcome back. We have an update tonight on an alleged mortgage fraud scheme we first told you about earlier this year. A Markham woman who's accused of registering mortgages without the victim's knowledge is now facing multiple charges. Dale Manukduk has the details.
So this room is all Peggy Chan files that we're working on right now.
Private investigator Brian King has been looking into Po-Yuk Chan for over a year.
We're aware of at least 30 properties that and owners of properties that have been affected by the activities of Miss Chan.
King is currently investigating 8 claims on 6 of those properties where Chan allegedly took out multiple mortgages.
We are looking someplace probably north of $10 million.
Last week, York Regional Police arrested and charged Chan, also known as Peggy. Police say between 2016 and 2021, Chan represented herself as a mortgage broker. She allegedly engaged with victims who were new to the Greater Toronto Area and were seeking investment opportunities or real estate property. York Regional Police say a common thread between the victims was that none of them could read or speak in English. They say that there was some paperwork, some things were signed where the victims didn't have a clear understanding of what was written down. Police also believe there could be more victims.
At this point, we've laid 5 charges for each of the 3 offenses. So that's 5 different incidents that were brought forward to us so far. We do feel that there are more victims out there that have not come forward.
We expect to see a lot of changes very early in terms of what the charges are.
Chan's lawyer says the plaintiff's stories have changed and allegations of forgery and mortgage fraud were dropped.
Really what we have here is an investment organization where the investments went sour. And because of that, everybody wants to get out and mitigate their losses as best they can. My client was also in this investment group with them. She lost her home.
In February, CBC Toronto reported on 6 alleged victims who are suing Chan in civil court. As for potentially more criminal charges,
if this is the most realistic 5 to get a conviction on, I don't know what else there possibly could be. I mean, the fact that 2 of the 5 write out 1 week after the charges were provided, I mean, I think those are just going to disappear as soon as we get to talk to the Crown. So I can't imagine that there's really more to come.
Chan is expected to appear in court in October. Dale Manukduk, CBC News, Markham.
In sports, the Jays facing the Texas Rangers tonight in Game 2 of a pivotal 4-game series. The team looking to even the playing field and keep their postseason dreams alive after dropping Game 1 to the Rangers last night.
Espinal with a fly ball to left, but it is playable. Carter is there, and Texas beats the Blue Jays for the 2nd game in a row.
Sorry about that. So not the result fans were hoping for tonight. The Rangers win 6-3, and the victory moves Texas into sole possession of the 2nd of 3 wildcard spots and gives them tiebreaker advantage over the Jays if the teams finish the season with identical records. Final word tonight over to you, Colette. And I know that you're tracking Hurricane Lee again this evening.
Yeah, Chris, you know, we're paying such attention to this, obviously, because of what happened with Fiona. And so really wanting to see where this might end up, Hurricane Lee, and how it might have an impact on Atlantic Canada. So that's why you're hearing me here every night. And we're sort of looking, even though it's well south of Bermuda. And at this point, the rip currents and some of those higher tides are really around Puerto Rico and the U.S. and British Virgin Islands, towards eventually here the Bahamas. And it will be towards Bermuda, so a tropical storm watch in place there. But what we want to know, and yes, that is Hurricane Margot, looks like it's going to be kind of holding there, just edging a bit north. That's why we're focusing on Lee, is how this plays out. It looks like hurricane force winds, or close to, may reach southwestern Nova Scotia around perhaps Saturday morning, but more the center of the storm, and it will weaken as it goes over cooler water, become post-tropical, more the center kind of between Saturday and Sunday. But that is going to be this weekend. We will be talking about significant rains, winds gusting 65 to 100 kilometers an hour or stronger. So a lot to be paying attention to there, and power outage risk as well. We're into some better conditions behind the system. It's going to be a little cooler. It's going to be a little bit breezy at times, and a few isolated showers possible tomorrow afternoon into cottage country. Otherwise, we'll see sunshine and then maybe get into a bit of a mix in the afternoon for the GTA. Slight chance for southwestern Ontario too. Mostly it's going to be a drier forecast, and then moving forward, a lot of sun and several very nice September days. Overnight temperatures, they are getting a little cooler, and some single digits begin showing up on the board. Hamilton, I'm talking to you, but we'll be seeing more of those over the next couple of nights as this new air mass moves in. 19 the high tomorrow, 20 for both Thursday and Friday, and then we pop up with a bit of a warm-up Saturday. And Chris, the next after this system, best chance for rain showers looks like it will be Sunday, hopefully later in the day.
All right, sounds good. Thank you, Colette. Nice to see all those sunny days ahead. And that's our show for you tonight. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you back here tomorrow night